This is Mira Business FM. It's the morning drive. Real estate next. Feel free to message us directly on whatsapp.mira.fm. You can email as well if you'd rather do that, info@mira.fm. And Mario Volpi is with me. He is the presenter of the Dubai Property Podcast. He's a columnist for The National. He's an all-round real estate expert. What he's forgotten about real estate, not worth knowing. I think that's fair.
Thank you. Good morning.
Every week, billing you, puffing you up.
You're too kind, Tim. Thank you.
Nice to see you, Mario. How are you? Everything okay?
I'm very good. Yeah, very good. Thank you. Yeah. So, looking forward to a good week. So, yeah.
Well, we've done our football discussion off air, and I'd rather not go there at the moment. You know, it was a sad weekend. Thanks. You look so mournful.
I understand. Yeah, no, I've been there with you. It's okay.
I know, Mario. Just by way of explanation, and this makes me laugh. I'm quite touched by it, actually, Mario. The team that I grew up supporting and support lost at the weekend. It's very likely they'll be demoted. They'll be down in a lower league. So that's kind of sad. Mario just said, he came in and said, I was going to text you, but I knew how you'd feel. I knew how you'd be feeling. And a little tear made its way from my eyes.
So to receive a text from a Chelsea fan would have been the nail in the coffin.
I know, that's kind of salt in the wound, isn't it? So look, today, there's a few topics I wanted to discuss with you, and I think all of these are recent newspaper stories. We've got Dubai's 10 million dirham plus property deal search. That's something I want to discuss with you. Beachfront plot selling for 400 million, a record luxury land deal just happened. What Abu Dhabi's doing for a smarter, greener future, and then a couple of profit stories as well. It's always interesting to look at what Emaar are doing, probably the big developer, I guess most people would argue, here in the UAE, but also Binghatti posting record profits as well. So we'll come to all that stuff. But I wanted to start with this because it's kind of the headline. It kind of demonstrates that luxury property is on something of a tear again. It's the ultra-high-end segment leading the charge, Mario. New data showing a sharp rise in 10 million dirham plus transactions. So demand at that end of the market, the top of the market, still incredibly strong, even though we're in uncertain times.
Yeah, we are in uncertain times, but I mean, we attracted so many millionaires last year,
yes,
from all over the world, a lot of which came from the United Kingdom. And I guess this is just testimony of a couple of things. The fact that a lot of those people clearly are still here, clearly are still investing, and the fact that it tends to be maybe villas that they're buying, which obviously will have a higher price tag. I mean, we're not necessarily just talking about penthouses here.
No.
It's going to be villas, and villas have surged purely and simply because also there's less of them around. You know, when a developer builds, it's actually cheaper for them to build vertical structures, tower blocks, and of which there will be some penthouses there. But there is a big need for family homes. There's a big need for big villas, mansions perhaps. And this is why, I guess, this sort of 10 million. And let's be fair. I mean, 10 million is a lot of money. Do not get me wrong. It's a lot of money. But it's not mansion money. These are going to be just decent, large but family homes. So it's not exactly we're talking at the far side of the line here, the top end. This is probably a lot of mid large family homes. Let's put it that way. And depending on where they are, will have these kind of price tags. So when these developers have to build these, there's less of them because they've got to give gardens. The master plan and everything will be less dense, and that is why villas, I guess, are sought after. There's less of them, and that's why prices go up with the fact that they've got all these family offices and maybe high net worth individuals that clearly have now decided to jump into the real estate market, despite, as we say, the sort of confusion around.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's heavily international buyers, isn't it? But it is also local investors kind of doubling down on real estate, on a more long-term investment play, I suppose, as well. Why prices are rising just because of limited supply? Is that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, prices go up, clearly when there's more buyers around. I mean, that's just simple economics. And as I said, more families have relocated to the UAE and to Dubai. I'm talking generally speaking. The figures, the demographic figures for today is a bit of guesswork given the sort of conflict. We don't know how many necessarily have decided maybe to look elsewhere. But I don't know, whilst the roads are not as busy, they're still not bad.
Still pretty busy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still hearing, traffic reports. So from that point of view, I think you'll find that there's still a hell of a lot of people here, and they've got to live somewhere. And when these people have made Dubai their home, especially entrepreneurs opening up businesses, this is where these kind of homes become the want or the needed inventory. So I think, yes, it's down to the fact that there are not as many of them out there. I'm talking about property now. And of course, if people are buying, then of course price is going to go up. But like I say, 10 million, a lot of money, but actually doesn't really buy you a lot of real estate nowadays. I mean, that's £2 million when you look at it like that.
There's the leveller.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I mean, where's popular? I mean, the usual suspects: Dubai Hills, Palm
Jumeirah, Mohammed bin Rashid City, those kind of areas, specifically District 1. Of course, if we are then talking about apartments as well, I know we've been labouring on villas, but areas like Jumeirah Bay and a lot of these sort of waterfront where, a 2-bedroom apartment is going to set you back 10 million. Some of these apartments on the canals, the Dubai Canal, Mr. C, places like that are minimum 2 million. 2 bedroom for 10 million for 2 bedrooms. It's outrageous. So it's not. Although we are saying, generally speaking, these are villas, you then do also have these apartments in certain areas that will bump up these prices. So, yeah, you're right, the usual suspects. Of course, you can add into the mix Palm Jebel Ali as well, which, whilst off plan, they're still, I mean, they launched from, if I remember rightly, from sort of 18, 19 million right at the beginning to around 22, 23 million slightly afterwards. So, that's double the amount of what we're talking about here. And then, of course, the averages will mean that is keeping these figures up high. It would appear a very healthy market when you look at it like that.
It does, doesn't it? I mean, the point of this is it's transactions above 10 million rising faster than the broader market. And you're right, villas tending to outperform apartments. But it's just remarkable looking at the trends here from this particular report, which I think this was Khaleej Times earlier this week.
Yeah, so again, it's just showing the confidence in the marketplace because, if these families or these individuals, these high net worth individuals, have decided to make Dubai their home, despite whatever's being thrown at the country, it never ceases to amaze me how, and perhaps we'll talk about this also a little bit later, how projects are still being announced. I'm talking about from a government level now, not necessarily developers. Developers actually, on the other hand, have taken the decision, and rightly so, I believe, to sort of pause a lot of these project launches, which also will give the market time to breathe, because I think we had far too much going on. What to buy. Everything was always better than the next launch was always better than the launch after that. You may have put down a deposit and then you were worrying, did I do the right thing? Because now something better has come along. So actually this particular moment I think is good because it gives the market time to think. It gives the market time to actually take a breath. Because we're talking about real estate here. We're not talking about hotcakes. We're not talking about, sort of the next big thing where people are going to be queuing up. Like this collaboration between Audemars Piguet and Swatch, which you may have seen online. They're so ugly, those watches. Have you seen the pocket watches or whatever on a thing? Great for PE teachers, but I'm not so sure. Retailing, I think, 1,500 dirhams. but people are talking about queuing up already from tonight.
You're not keen on this collaboration?
No, not really. No, I think it just cheapens the brand of the. It improves the Swatch brand. I know we've gone off at a tangent all of a sudden, but
no, you went off at a tangent.
Yeah, okay. You didn't come with me.
No, I am with you on this actually, because I think this is really interesting. Because if you look at the previous brand deals that they've done, the Omega thing, the what was the other one? The
Blancpain. Yeah.
Those are all under the Swatch Group.
Yeah, this one is the first time that it's outside. Yeah, for sure. But the ones you mentioned before, they're watches. This one, it just looks like a pocket watch with a ribbon or something on the top. Well, at least that's what I've seen online. But anyway, no. Anyway, we digress.
You're not a fan? Are you a fan of the Royal? It's the Royal Oak, isn't it?
Oh yeah, listen, Audemars Piguet, of course. Yeah, but no, I'm not a fan of this collaboration. It just looks too plasticky to me.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Where were we anyway?
But actually, talking about that, it actually leads me to brands. Branded residences, perhaps, are also were always very popular here. In fact, the UAE was the number one country that were developing the most, where they were the most successful. And I'm talking about obviously pre-28th of February. Not to say that they're not successful now, but it seems to be that they found their niche. Branded residences definitely are a thing here, and people want to actually be part of it.
Yeah.
And so that's also why I guess the 10 million dirham price tag is up there, because you add a brand onto a particular, especially an apartment, then that's easy why they come into these kind of figures. And I made a prediction a long time ago, talking about brands,
right?
That Louis Vuitton would collab with somebody, and I started to think, Mario, you got that one wrong, because months and months and months, or a year or so, whenever I did it, passed and still nothing. But my understanding is that it's happening.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you know anything more about that?
A little bit. I know.
Can you say anything? Well, you can't, can you? You've been very cagey.
I know the developer.
Oh, you do?
And I know the area.
Okay.
That's all I know. I don't know the details. But that for me, especially the sort of fashionistas and everything.
Yeah.
See, I often wanted, taking it back to Chelsea, we don't really have we do have a front of shirt sponsor. It's a stupid AI thing, IFS, which I refuse to buy. But I've always wanted, for example, Gucci on the front of the Chelsea shirt, or Prada, or Louis Vuitton. And then you look
Giorgio Armani.
Well, even Armani, but you see Armani, they will do the suits, they will do, but I'm talking about literally on the front. And then the Chelsea shirt, or the shirt, becomes a fashion wear as well, rather than just a tribal wear you wear on a Saturday afternoon. But yeah, that hasn't worked. We get IFS, which I cannot repeat what I think the IFS stands for.
Okay. You feel quite strongly about some stuff today.
Yeah, I do. Yes. But so I'm looking forward to this particular collab, for want of a better word, and Mercedes, Jacob & Co, Bugatti, all of these have done really, really well for a lot of these developers. Going back to Chelsea residences, obviously with Damac. Love them or hate them, both companies, dare I say, but really, really good collaborations. You mentioned Giorgio Armani residences also.
That's right,
it started with the Burj Khalifa, of course, in that respect. So this fuels that price tag, or it makes it easier, should I say. And whether it's because Dubai loves a brand, or whether it's just ingrained, but it's one of the biggest success stories in terms of real estate is this branded residences, because they work elsewhere throughout the world. They make some noise, but I don't think they make as much noise as they do here, and it's become pretty much the norm. I think Dam actually started it with Cavalli, because they actually bought out Cavalli, which was a fashion house in Italy, and so that brand actually now belongs to Damac. And so can obviously promote it at will, really.
It is. We talk about it a lot on this program, and you're right. It's kind of. I mean, the norm would be the wrong word, but it's very usual. It's not a surprise to see it. I mean, we were talking yesterday to the CEO of Grovey Developers, who are doing the Ramada by Wyndham, I think it is, and it's standing room only at the launch. Really successful. He's done really well with it, and that's a strong brand. He was saying, he gave us all the figures yesterday. You can check the podcast for that, I think, but.
Look, brands work.
Great guns.
Brands work, and it doesn't have to be fashion. It can be all sorts. Look, automotive. Who'd have thought? They've gone into that. Hotel chains, obviously, are very important because when people go on holiday and they book a 5-star hotel, they then want to align themselves with that brand, that luxury, that feeling of being pampered, and when it's your home, even if it's an investment. You pin your hat on that, and as I say, in Dubai certainly, and the wider UAE as well, it's worked, and it's worked very well.
I've got to say, if somebody said, so where have you moved to, and I'd be Louis Vuitton.
I moved to the Louis Vuitton residences.
Louis Vuitton residence. I hope you look, check me out.
But when you look at actually where Louis Vuitton sponsor, which is not much, is Formula One. And Formula One potentially is kind of like the creme de la creme when it comes to money involved. So, I can see why fashion houses, shame for me really, but I can see why they won't want to be associated with football teams. I guess the sort of thuggery, the sort of, hooliganism perhaps, or the just the more working class element, perhaps, especially in the United Kingdom. So you don't really want to necessarily be associated with that, despite the fact that globally football is the number one sport, I would have thought. Yeah,
so it is. I think by some distance. Do you know, I'd never thought of it that way, that you could have a fashion house, a really, really upmarket, high-end fashion house blazoned across the front of your chest on your football jersey, and then it changes the wearing aspects of it from, it's sports kit, it's tribal kit, and all of a sudden it becomes a fashion item. I hadn't thought that, really.
Well, exactly, and of course, if it is a fashion item, it can then be made by that. Because I think football shirts, what are they? Are they made in Pakistan? I don't know, India. I don't know where they're actually made, because they're polyester at the end of the day, but. Can you imagine that not only is it the sponsor on it, but if it was a Louis Vuitton shirt as well, mind you, it probably costs too much and people won't be able to buy it because clearly that's how they make their money. But
that's exclusivity, isn't it? I suppose. So, what do you think? From 10 million dirhams and up in the property market, that's the beginning of the luxury segment. Is that a reasonable?
Well, it's fun. We used to talk 5 million. To be fair, 5 million, and obviously 5 million years ago bought you a lot. Now, as we see, it kind of doesn't. I'm flabbergasted to see the value of even some older villas, for example, in the Springs, and the values that they are today. When I consider that the Springs were worth, I think when they were launched, something like 500,000 dirhams or something. It was between sort of 4 and 6,000. I think maybe 600,000 when they were first launched, and now they're 4 or 5 million. Ridiculous. It really is, and half of them need to be redone because kitchens, bathrooms, tiles. Everything wears out after a while. We're back to bathroom tiles again. Do you remember last week?
I do, yeah. I was waiting. I've just noted it. Actually. It's 9:30 and 25 seconds.
We got to the bathroom tiles.
It's quite half an hour. It's not bad, I suppose.
Well, we started late though.
Yeah, this is true. It's just an interesting. It's interesting to comment about. It's interesting to look at because there are a few things here. If you look ahead from this story, and this is what Khalij Times are pointing out. The analysts expect the luxury segment, and if we take that from 10 million up, just for the purposes of this discussion, they expect it to stay resilient, and that's thanks to inflows, wealthy residents, coming back or having stayed here, I suppose, limited supply of ultra-prime homes, And also the reputation. It's Dubai's reputation. It's still a desirable luxury market. So that's really the message, I think, from this. If you've got a question for Mario, drop it into the comments, whatever stream you may be watching and or listening to us now on, and we'll try to bring it into the conversation. So message us directly on whatsapp.mira.fm. Here's another story for you. So, record 400 million dirham beachfront deal here. This is for land. It's another milestone. It's huge. It's 2 adjoining plots on Dubai Islands. 400 million dirhams, one of the largest land transactions ever recorded, again in the luxury segment. But is this just the price, or is this a signal of where the market is heading, is my question.
Well, we've got to look at where it is, and Dubai Islands is currently it's the sort of last beachfront parcel of land, if you like, that's being developed into obviously apartments, hotels, retail, and sort of villas. They have golf courses there, but it's one of the last ones until the next one, perhaps. Who knows? But certainly at the moment, it's one of the last ones. So it's about, again, exclusivity. And what I'm not sure about this plot is whether this plot was for villas, wasn't it? It wasn't necessarily for like a tower block or something. It's actually for villas.
It's ultra luxury villas, or a branded residential project.
Okay, so again, that they've kept that slightly open.
Yeah,
if we're talking about a plot of land which is now, or 2 plots of land which is now 1 plot of land for 400 million, and it's a villa or a mansion, that's a different story to a project, whether it's branded residences or not, because branded residences then would indicate multiple units, whether it's vertical or indeed individual houses, but it would indicate more. If you're talking about amalgamating 2 plots for 1 huge mansion, then that's a completely different story. It still leads to the fact that Dubai Islands, which used to be called Deira Islands, is a massive success story. And I think Nakheel have done a great job in the sense that whilst it was theirs, they then shared it. They sold plots to different developers, and pretty much every developer that works in the marketplace has bought a plot or plots at one stage or another there, and then obviously gone on to develop their own brand, either for long-term or short-term accommodation there, or hotels, etc. But it tends to be that way. Even when you look at the Palm Jumeirah, that belonged to Nakheel, they still allowed 1 or 2 other developers to join the party, whereas MR tends to keep everything to themselves. So that seems to be the difference. Of course, Nakheel is part of Dubai Holdings, which is Meras, and therefore different. It's like different developers, at least under different developers. One umbrella, but looks as though they're different, but they're all one and the same. But Nakheel definitely have allowed independent, family-run developers, successful ones. I mean, you could say Shoba is also a family-run. Imtiaz, for example, Afghani family. A lot of these were contractors at one stage or another, and then they developed into developers with the contracting arm into them. So they've done really well. But going back to this particular story, 400 million, that is a huge chunk of cash,
isn't it?
So you've got to understand, what are they actually going to build on there? Dubai Islands is made up of 5 islands, and one of these islands is, and I'm not sure whether this is where the plot of land is, because the report is a bit sketchy. But if it is 2 plots amalgamated into 1, and it's a villa, I would suspect it's the island. I can't actually remember the name of it. They're A, B, C, D, and E, something like this. So it could be E. But anyway, there's one island that is to the extreme right-hand side of it, and they had earmarked that for luxury mansions. So I suspect it's probably that one. and I don't know whether it's an individual that has bought it, or whether it's indeed a company or a developer that's then bought it. But yeah, 400,000. I mean, you're talking nearly 500 million dirhams just for land, and then you've got to build something on it.
Well, that's
Can you
right.
imagine?
Yeah. No, exactly. I mean, it's direct beachfront access. We know that. It's either ultra luxury villas or a branded residential project. The suspicion is that it's ultra luxury villa. I mean, that's a mansion. That's a
palace, isn't it?
It's got to be a palace.
Yeah.
In terms of size, for sure. But it's important and it matters because the investor appetite is what's interesting here, particularly when it comes to waterfront luxury.
Yeah, I mean, these I guess these stories will never go away because they're so fantastic. They're fantastic anyway under normal circumstances. You then add into the mix of the confusion or the hesitation that the current situation is bringing to the market. It's mind-blowing that actually, dare I say, especially at the top end, institutions, family offices, individuals, maybe they don't care. I mean, you've got to question it, haven't you? Because when I speak to the man in the street who says, "Oh well, you know, I'm ready to buy, I'm able to buy, but you know what? I'm just not willing." And why are you not willing? Yeah, I just want to see what the situation, how it unfolds.
And that's what you're seeing a lot.
That's
at the moment.
normal. Yeah,
sure.
But at this end, I don't know. It just seems to be that they're either immune to the confusion, they're either immune, or maybe they know something we don't. And maybe that's the message that I should be giving out to everybody listening to this. That whilst, take your time, be hesitant, but I know that this window of opportunity, and we have to look at it as a window of opportunity.
Yeah.
It will close very quickly. And when it does, everybody will be kicking themselves. Because the one thing I've said to a couple of people now, if I could take you back to COVID times and say to you, don't worry, everything will be fine, because trust the government, trust everything they're doing, the federal government I'm talking about, you will see that Dubai and the wider UAE will actually not only recover from this, but benefit from this. And the property you're looking at now, I guarantee you, will have doubled or tripled in price. First of all, you'll say you're crazy. But if I give you that opportunity now, everybody would take it.
Yeah.
And yet, so many people are not taking it now because they're fearful. And I think it was Warren Buffett that said, buy when everyone's fearful. Because that's the time to do it. When people are hesitating, that's when the time you should go in. Yeah. Of course, you've got to have a bit of a risk, an appetite for risk. And I get it's not as easy as just talking on radio or blah, blah, blahing here like I sometimes do. But
sometimes?
All of the time, Tim. Thank you. But the fact remains, and I don't want people to think, he's just talking like an agent now. He's just being a pushy salesman. No, it's okay. Buy or don't buy, that's up to you. But if you do look at history, and despite the fact that this time we are going through something that we have never actually gone through ourselves, it's always been other people, where we've always benefited, but launching a whole metro system, launching an underground tunneling construction whilst we still have a missile over our head. Either we are crazy or they know something we don't. And I suspect it's the latter rather than the former.
The thing is, you're right. And I was thinking there until you came out and said, look, the point about this is if you have an appetite for risk and you can handle taking a risk, because all property, all investment is a risk of sorts. There are no sure bets. Then you're right. And with the benefit of hindsight there, you're absolutely right. Historically, markets go upwards over time. And if your timeline is, reasonably medium term, long term, you're going to be okay. But you can understand reticence. But if you have a little bit of appetite for risk, then I see exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, and also don't forget that, again, historically, and I'm talking specifically the Dubai market now, recovers at a much, much, much faster rate than its sort of recession.
True.
I've mentioned before, in 2014, we started the downward trend. Prices went down 40% over a 6-year period. We should have actually recovered in 2020, but of course COVID happened, so that kicked that recovery down the road for a year or 18 months. But in 2021, if you like, we recovered, from 21 to 22, we recovered that 40% in 1 year. So just look, it took 6-7 years to come down 40% and only a year, 18 months to recover that back. That just shows you what the market does and how fast it is when it does recover. So even off air, I was saying to you, we're in a bit of a weird market. If we talk just normally, not 10 million plus or 400 million plus, I mean that's kind of not normal. Normal real estate is that we've got right now hundreds of buyers. That's the good news. Believe me or not, we have lots and lots of buyers that want to buy. But where they want to buy, as in terms of pricing, is nowhere near where the sellers are. So we have this impasse at the moment where buyers want to buy, but at their terms, where they're expecting every single deal to be, and I'll use their words, distressed. And what does that mean? We've got sellers who, unless they have a very specific motivation for selling, are in the main on the market because they just want to liquidate their funds, but they want to sell it at a certain price. But because they don't need to sell it, they're either just sitting on the market, stagnating, obviously, because buyers are not reaching their level and sellers are not coming down to the level of the buyers. So we have this impasse. It's a bit like that Spider-Man meme, to me, to you, to me, to no one's doing anything. For the millennials that are listening to get an idea of what I'm talking about. And obviously, from a business perspective, from a real estate perspective, yes, look, of course deals are being done. I'm not saying no one's buying at all, because eventually it's like who's the first to blink type of thing. You've got to do that. But in the main, the general consensus is buyers want to buy at their level, sellers want to sell at their level, and unfortunately there's a big gulf in between. And the job of the agent, clearly, is to get both of them to see sense. Now, most people call it a win-win when people have to negotiate. I never call it a win-win. I call it a lose-lose. Why? Because the seller has to come down from his position. Therefore, in his head, he's losing. Okay? The buyer has to go up from his position. Again, he's losing. Yes, they're winning ultimately because they come to an agreement, but both will have to give. And in giving, I always think you're actually losing rather than gaining. But of course, ultimately, it's two. So it's just my coin of phrase that we go to a lose-lose, but to end up actually finding the common ground.
Do you talk to the buyer or the seller and call it a lose-lose?
Yeah, I do.
You do?
I do, because
So it's a very realistic way of doing it.
And the reason I do that is because they've come from a position for whatever reason. That's the price, whether it's what they believe or whether their mate told them. Because I've said before, they never listen to agents. They never come to an agent or a broker and say, "Can you please give me a valuation?" Not like in the UK where it's a proper thing to do. Here, no, they tell you what price they want based on, who knows, fantasy often. And that is why a lot of agents struggle, because on one hand they need the listing and they have to dance to the tune of the owner. But by the same breath, they're never going to sell it at that price, or very rarely. Now, in a rising market, you will always find somebody, somewhere, somehow, who either doesn't care, maybe he's got too much money, or whatever, and he'll just buy whatever he wants. But in a dare I say, a declining market, or a market that is stable from the point of view of not much is happening, you get found out. So you do have to come down. But you see, in their head, they're coming down. But they're coming down from what? A price that is fantasy. It's not that you've come down in price. It was never worth that in the first place. And that's the bit I'm trying to say. Whereas a buyer could be looking at it from a different angle, but it's the same conversation. Their perception of worth may not be correct. It's obviously worth a little bit more than what they're thinking, because everybody wants a bargain.
It's natural, isn't it, I suppose? Do you see, at the moment, if you're describing this kind of impasse situation, it's a Mexican standoff, isn't it, in lots of ways?
Without pistols.
Yeah, exactly. Well, who knows? But do you see this continuing kind of over the summer? Do you think that come September, when everybody's back and hopefully we've had a resolution for a while, do you see that as being the time?
Look, it's difficult to put a timeline on it.
Is that a logical thing to think?
What you've just said, it is very logical.
Right.
I think buyers, if you like, still have this opportunity to buy during the period that you've just said.
Sure.
So it would make sense that potentially things would have improved or will improve once we get to a resolution. And again, we've got to get used to that as well. And that's where it takes time. Now, historically speaking, the summer is from a real estate perspective, and indeed from, dare I say, a hospitality perspective, is always quieter, purely and simply because of the heat. But there are still loads of great deals. If we put the situation to one side, in the summer, hotels come out with great deals under normal circumstances, because you'd be crazy to come to Dubai in August, and especially if you're a redhead or a blonde, very blonde, bring your factor 50. But people do come because they take advantage of that, and maybe they holiday in a slightly different way.
Sure,
not necessarily just sitting out on the beach all the time. You just do other things, and then there's lots and lots of things to do, in Dubai and the UAE. However, it is a quieter period, and of course, families escape the heat, and the mums and the wives and the kids, they tend to leave for a month or so because they can. Husbands will follow, but not necessarily as long. But then, of course, if you're rich and famous buying 400 million dirham plots, maybe you can afford to take 3 months off or whatever. Who knows? The point is that the husbands stay behind, they kind of work, but the city empties. And logically speaking, from a real estate perspective, that's when it's quieter. But equally, again, that's where good deals can be made, because people are a little bit, eager to close a deal. And I'm talking now under normal circumstances. You then add in the mix the sort of situation, the conflict, whatever, it paints a different picture. But you're right. Potentially, we are all hoping, more hope than perhaps expectation, that after the summer, things will get back to normal. But then I remember in 2008 when the Lehman Brothers crashed, and we entered this global financial crisis. Different time, different place. I get it. No liquidity. You couldn't get mortgages. It was very, very different, but still a crisis. And I remember in November at the time saying, "Oh, we'll be fine by the new year." That was a crisis that took 3 years to recover, at least. So I'm not saying that here we are saying after the summer, everything will be fine. I hope so, but we don't know.
You're saying don't come to me for a prediction.
Well, I'm a typical Libran. I just sit on the fence and I'll give you both sides of the story and say, yes, it points to the summer being slower. That's the window of opportunity for people. Get in, because when everyone comes back, then hopefully things will get better. But the reality is nobody really knows. And of course, we're all hoping and praying that we do come to a resolution. But what will the landscape look like anyway? We're not going to get regime change. So it's still the same people, probably angrier because of what's happened. Who knows? And now things have come out that none of us knew about, alliances and allegiances amongst countries and capabilities and what we have and what we don't have. So I don't know. I would take everything on a let's wait and see basis. It's difficult to predict. But of course, I am ever the optimist, and I have to be, because resilience has shown that we do recover. Will people forget? Probably. Some will. Others won't. Who knows? Let's see.
Well, resilience is the word, isn't it? I mean, the thing with this is 400 million dirham land deal is a statement, not just a number. And that's the thing. So the luxury market is accelerating.
It's
It's
definitely
expanding.
there.
It's there. Just a reminder: this interview is going to be uploaded to YouTube later on today. Here's something else. What have we got? We've got 9 minutes. So I just thought this was interesting reading this week, and I know you've seen this as well. Here's the headline. Abu Dhabi unveils 42 billion dirham push for a smarter, greener future. So this is more economy than real estate, but the timing, I think, is really interesting and what it means for confidence in the UAE as much as anything.
Yeah.
So this is Abu Dhabi announcing one of its most ambitious transformation programs yet, 42 billion dirhams of investment, and the idea is a smarter, greener, more future-ready Emirates. So it's clean energy, it's digital infrastructure, it's advanced industries, next-generation mobility, all designed to accelerate, and I'm quoting, Abu Dhabi's shift towards a sustainable, knowledge-driven economy. So much more integration. This is forward-looking, it's future-looking.
It is, but it's the flavour of the month, isn't it? And has been for a while. Sustainability. I mean, I remember when I came to Dubai, you couldn't see a bottle bank or paper bank or whatever.
True.
And yet the UK was, you'd be fined if you didn't do it, if you didn't put the right bin out or something. And it was outrageous to think that I was able to throw away a glass bottle purely and simply because there was nothing else to do with it. Well, now obviously we're starting to see it.
Yeah.
This is just modernizing the whole ecosystem. And you've got to remember we are in the desert. And so things like, water and preservation and sustainability and energy obviously is now coming up to the fore, because we've seen with the situation that we're in how technically the whole world has been held to ransom now over a small body of water. And so if we can find another way, whether it be solar panels, whether it be wind, wave energy, whatever energy it is, that's all green, obviously, and to develop that technology and be less, needing hydrocarbons or whatever, I think is amazing. But it's the timing for me. I mean, this. Am I surprised at this? No, because I've said always, whether it's the UAE in general or Dubai, whatever, the governments, they come up with suggestions to improve lives, to improve our way of doing business. So this is not unusual. But for me, it's the timing of it that actually, unlike the real estate market, who is pausing, watching and seeing what's going on and not making decisions, guys, take initiatives from your own government. Look what the government is doing. They are pressing ahead.
Plough their own furrows.
Well,
that's
exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
And so we can all take encouragement there that clearly local, federal governments, they see a future very, very bright. Why can't we? And I'm not necessarily talking about the local people, and local, I mean residents, whether you're an expat or not. And maybe this is a message that agents should actually get out to the wider world. And that is why the off-plan market has virtually, stopped virtually. There's still deals being done, but it's not like it was, because it was foreign investment. It was outside investors who wanted a piece of Dubai who are now going, oops, I'm not sure, I'll wait. Well, I think my message to all agents now is get on the phone to every single investor and say, if the government of the UAE, and in this case, obviously it's Abu Dhabi, but also Dubai with their infrastructure plans, the Gold Line, Etihad Rail, road improvements. I mean, look at Hesse Street. What an amazing improvement. I now go on Hesse Street, a gazillion cars still, no traffic. Amazing.
Same on King Street.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so all I'm saying is, they are carrying on with their lives. It's as if like nothing. They may be looking at it a little bit like the high net worth individuals who don't seem to care and are still buying. That's the message we should be sending out. Be cautious if you like, but look what they are doing. They're not putting their hands up like this or like being rabbits caught in a headlight in a situation and are frozen. They're not. They're continuing to build. They're continuing to improve. And you've got to take your hat off to them. And this initiative, obviously, I don't know the full ins and outs, but green energy, sustainability, that's where we need to go and be less reliant on hydrocarbons, oil, or whatever.
Yeah,
because that's going to, in Dubai's run out. Okay, Abu Dhabi still has a load of it, but what I'm saying is, generally speaking, this is a much better energy source than the other one.
Well, that's why it matters. This is Abu Dhabi doubling down. So this is long-term resilience. This is sustainability. This is innovation. And it's a message, isn't it? It's not about waiting for the future. It's building for it. So that's the key. I just think the timing, and I agree with you, I think it's really interesting. It covers so many aspects of the things that we are demanding now. So green energy and digital transformation. And that gives you, I think that gives you a global leadership.
I was just reading that the sort of last comment on this, the conclusion. And first of all, it's a 42 billion dirham commitment that clearly sends this message that Abu Dhabi is not waiting for the future, it's building it. That in itself just says everything to me. They're not waiting for what's happening. They are making sure that that future, they get to that future because they're writing it right now.
I mean, this story was carried in most media organisations. I think my source here was Gulf News earlier this week as well. I just thought it was interesting because it's a timing thing. Two things very quickly just before we go. We've got a couple of minutes. I'm just looking at a couple of real estate profit stories. Imar's Q1 profit up 33%. This is Q1, and I know that's obviously March there, but that's in a time when things have been difficult, but the market still, if it's 33% up, that's firing on all cylinders. I think that's fair to say. Net profit, 4.3 billion dirhams in Q1, up quite sharply from last year.
Well, it kind of shows you what momentum we were going into 2026 from 25.
It does.
You know, I've always said that the preceding year of any year beyond 2021 was always better than the previous year. You know, so 22 was better than 21, 23 better than 22, and all sorts. And sort of 25 literally was a very, very strong year. But to sort of come out with, because of the 3 months, clearly 1 month there was that sort of pause or whatever. So that's pretty much 2 months, only 2 months worth of figures coming out there.
Yep.
So it would have been either higher, and now it's come down a bit, but still to be 33% up. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
It really
the
is.
development pipeline is 70 billion dirhams.
I mean, no wonder Mr. Alabar is always very happy.
Oh man! So that's a signal. So the real estate market, if you like, has been running hot. Not as hot at the moment, but Omar right in the middle of the action. The other story is Bengati. It marked their 10th consecutive record quarter.
Yes, I know with Bengati, they are a success story. They've reinvented themselves. And I have to say, last year were subject to some amazing projects, some amazing collaborations, which brings us back to the branded residences. In fact, they were the major drivers, I believe, with a lot of different brands, whether it be, horology, whether it be automotive, or whatever. But you've got to remember that Bengati, when they first started out, they were the people that were building, decent towers, whatever. But they were, they had orange balconies. They had a very specific look.
They did,
and
you're right.
I don't know whether it was Mohammed Bengati himself, or the father, or the whole family. They just got together, and they completely reinvented themselves, and collaborated with brands that have, I have to say, and it's been a massive success story, has elevated the Bengati brand. I'm not saying they didn't do good things before.
No,
but I'm just saying, if now all of a sudden you're associated with Bugatti, Jacob & Co. I mean, try buying a Jacob & Co. watch. It's eye-watering expensive. Mercedes. Who doesn't want to grow up to buy a Mercedes type of thing? It's that sort of a brand, and I'm not surprised that they are also 10th quarter in a row. Yeah, it's all down to whoever's vision, whether it was the family's vision to decide to reinvent themselves, and it's been a massive success. So again, testimony to mainly Dubai, because the projects are mainly in Dubai, and testimony to that particular family. So well done.
I mean, they're sought after. Master developments that are really sought after.
And they branched
some new
out.
project launches as well.
Yeah, they branched out into the UK. I mean, a few of them have. Damac have as well. Shoba have. But, Bengati have opened up, on the Brompton Road, just sort of down the road from Harrods. So these are showcasing Dubai projects in different marketplaces. And I think that's good, because it shows connectivity, it shows consistency. When these people go and do road shows, you see them at the road show and then you never hear or see from them again. That's not the way forward.
No.
To then say, we are here, we're now investing in this country to show you, come have a coffee. They've even got a coffee house there, come and have a coffee, we'll show you everything, and, come and see for yourself. So it's the right strategy, and I think, again, all credit to them.
New residential clusters, waterfront districts, lifestyle-driven communities. Here's the interesting quote in this article. The article was, this is Gulf News again, actually, quoting officials, "The strategy is simple. Keep building to meet demand, and demand is showing no signs of slowing."
Well, look,
it's positive.
Yeah, it's very positive, and I would say, look, what goes up has to come down. There are always going to be periods in a real estate cycle of, acceleration and growth, but then it is a cycle. It isn't just one way.
Yeah.
So keep building, and they will come scenario. It can work as long as there are other things attached to it, and in the UAE, it would appear that governments are trying to keep that ball bouncing by improving, by making life easier. And so from that perspective, I would agree, but I would always have a caution that, what goes up clearly has to sometimes come down.
Nothing wrong with that. And you're cynical over some watch collaborations as well. I've learned that this morning. We've gone from carpet tiles, kitchen tiles last week, and bathroom tiles to suspicion over watch collaborations.
Yeah,
the wonderful world of Mario Volpi.
I just don't like the look of it. I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure it'll do really, really well. But yeah.
It will. Mario Volpi is an all-round real estate expert. As I said, what he's forgotten about real estate ain't worth knowing.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Something like that. Good to see you, Mario. Thank you.
you.
Appreciate it. Search for Mira Business FM on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. Give us a follow. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interviews like this as well. This is Mira Business FM.